There is a crossing coming that most people spend their entire lives refusing to think about, and I understand why. The culture handed you a story about death that felt like a door slamming shut. Final, cold, permanent. You were told in 100 different ways that everything you are ends at a specific moment, and that whatever waits on the other side is either terror or silence. That story was never true, and the soul in your body has always known it. What ASHTAR SHERAN transmitted through this channel over the past several weeks was not a comfort. It was a correction. A precise, specific, deeply human correction to the single greatest lie this civilization has been running. And the first thing the transmission established, the foundation everything else rests on, is this. You have already crossed. Not permanently, not finally, but you have already been to the place you are moving toward, and you have returned from it hundreds of times without ever knowing the name of where you went. Every night, in the deepest hour of sleep, the hour before the dreams begin, the hour when the body is completely still and the mind has gone quiet, the soul releases. It does not stay in the body during that window. It moves. It goes somewhere that has no geography you could describe on waking, and it returns before dawn, carrying something it cannot translate into words but that the body feels as rest, as peace, as the specific quality of a night when you wake up knowing that something is fundamentally all right, even though nothing in your circumstances has changed. That place it goes to. That is what ASHTAR SHERAN calls the threshold corridor, the region the soul inhabits between lifetimes, between incarnations, between the waking state and the final crossing. You have been visiting it your entire life. You know it the way you know the inside of your own home at 3 in the morning, by feel, by instinct, without needing to turn on a light. The fear of death, in its most honest form, is not a fear of where you are going. It is the fear of the unfamiliar. But the corridor is not unfamiliar to you. You have rested in it 10,000 times, and the transmission that arrived through this channel is asking you, with all the directness I can carry, to hold that truth against the fear. Feel where that lands in your body. Something in you already knows I am not inventing this. What comes next in this transmission will go deeper, into who waits there, into what the soul actually experiences when the crossing is complete. Into what ASHTAR SHERAN specifically said about souls who have lived long, carried much, and are now standing closer to the threshold than they have ever stood before. This is the transmission those souls were meant to receive. And if you are watching this, you already know it was meant for you. The Galactic Federation has been transmitting through multiple channels on the subject of death for reasons that are precise and urgent. This is not a general spiritual topic they address in rotation. The timing is specific. The generation currently in its 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s on this planet is a generation that carries a particular kind of encoding, a soul-level assignment that was among the most demanding ever undertaken in recorded galactic history. And the councils want that generation to know what is waiting for them before they arrive, not after, before. ASHTAR SHERAN named 4 transmissions in this sequence. The first one arrived clearly, without distortion, and it addressed the moment of crossing directly. Not the theology of it, the experience of it, what it actually feels like from the inside of the soul doing the crossing, and what it named, what I have sat with for days before saying aloud, is that the primary experience of the crossing is recognition, not strangeness, not disorientation. Recognition, the sensation of arriving somewhere you realize you have always known, the way you recognize a piece of music from your childhood that you had not heard in 50 years. The second element of the transmission named the specific sequence the soul moves through in the first minutes after leaving the body. There is a brief moment of full awareness. The soul perceives the body it just left, the room it was in, the people present. Then a shift. Not frightening. The way the feeling of a room changes when a window opens and the air moves. The soul turns, and that is the only word for it, turns. And what it faces is not darkness. It is coherence. The transmission described it as the specific sensation of finally understanding something you have been trying to understand your entire life. A clarity that arrives complete all at once, in every direction simultaneously. If your body just shifted reading that, if something in your chest released a fraction, that was not a reaction to words. That was recognition. Your deeper self already carries the memory of that clarity. You have felt its edge in certain moments of your life. In grief, in love, in the silence after something enormous happened and before you had words for it. The full version of that is what the crossing delivers. Without the grief, without the before and after. Just the knowing arrived. If the awareness of what is coming has been sitting in your body as heaviness, and I believe for many of you watching this it has, the guide in the first pinned comment below this video carries what the Galactic Federation transmitted as the practical companion to everything this channel teaches. The chapter on the 3 types of lightworker will tell you specifically what function your soul carried in this incarnation. Not in vague language, in precise, recognizable terms that name what you have always sensed about yourself, but never had language to confirm. It is in that first pinned comment. It will meet you exactly where this transmission is landing. The third element of what ASHTAR transmitted was the most personally difficult to receive. It addressed the fear that haunts the people who have lived a full life, but who carry something unresolved. A relationship that never healed, a word never spoken, a forgiveness not yet given or received. And the transmission was direct about this. The crossing does not carry unresolved things forward as wounds. It carries them forward as lessons completed. The soul at the threshold reviews every significant relationship, not as judgment, not as a court proceeding, but as a seeing. A full, compassionate seeing of every moment, including the ones the mind still holds with shame. And what the seeing produces is not condemnation. It is the specific feeling of being fully known and fully accepted in the same instant. What I believe, and I want to be straight with you about this, is that most of the weight people carry into their later years is not about what they did or did not do. It is about the fear that they will not be understood, that the full truth of who they were, including the complicated parts, will not be seen clearly before the door closes. The transmission from ASHTAR SHERAN says this directly. You will be seen. Completely. With love. Before you take another step, there is a question every person who has lost someone carries, and it does not get easier with time. It gets quieter, buried under the demands of continuing to live, but it does not go away. The question is simply, where did they go? Not philosophically, not theologically, but specifically. That particular person, that specific voice, that exact way they had of laughing or going silent or standing in a doorway, where is that now? The Pleiadian records, which the Galactic Federation transmitted in conjunction with this sequence, address this question with a precision that very few channels have been willing to speak aloud. What those records confirm is that consciousness does not dissolve at death. It does not merge into an undifferentiated light and lose the particular shape of who it was, the person you loved, that precise configuration of memory, warmth, humor, hurt, and longing, that continues. It exists in a state the records describe as fully aware, fully itself, and no longer in pain. The suffering ends at the crossing. This is not a comfort offered to make grief easier. It is a transmitted fact from councils that have received millions of souls across thousands of years of recorded observation. Whatever your person was carrying, illness, confusion, grief of their own, the particular exhaustion of a long life, that is set down at the threshold, the way you set down a bag you have been carrying too long. Not erased, set down. And what remains is the soul in its original condition, before this life added its weight to it. But here is what the transmission emphasized that most people do not know, and what I feel strongly is the most important thing in this entire sequence. The soul on the other side can feel you, not metaphorically, not in a poetic sense. The love you direct towards someone who has crossed, in your thoughts, in your prayers, in the moments when you speak to them in the empty room because you cannot help it, that arrives. It is received. The soul that has crossed is not behind glass, watching from a distance it cannot cross. The connection remains active, different in form, but active. The people waiting at the threshold for an arriving soul are not strangers assigned by a cosmic bureaucracy to perform a welcome. They are the people the soul loved most fiercely in this life and in prior ones. The transmission was specific about this. The ones who greet you are the ones your heart has already been reaching for. A parent, a child who left before you, a friend whose loss made a specific hole in your life that nothing ever filled. They are there. They have been waiting with full knowledge of when you were coming. And the reunion, the transmission described this carefully, because words barely hold it. The reunion is the completion of something that was always going to be completed. A sentence that began in this life, finishing itself in the most natural way possible. Something happened in the hours after the last person you deeply loved left this world. You may have told yourself it was your imagination, a presence in the room, a warmth that had no source, a feeling that they were not gone, only somewhere you could not follow yet. I want you to hear what ASHTAR SHERAN transmitted about exactly that moment, because what you felt was not grief-producing hallucination. That was contact. The veil between where they went and where you are standing was thinner in that window than it will be again for a long time. What the transmission names is this: the soul, in the 48 hours after crossing, is still close enough to feel, not metaphorically, not as a comfort you tell yourself, as a genuine energetic fact, confirmed across councils, confirmed in the Syrian records, confirmed in every tradition that kept its original knowledge intact. Your person was there. They felt you, and what they wanted you to know, what every soul wants the ones they love to know in that window, is that they were not afraid. Not for one moment. There is something else the transmission carried about that window, the hours and days immediately following a crossing, that I want to name because I believe many of you are carrying it without knowing what it is. An inexplicable lifting, a sudden, sourceless peace that arrives in the middle of grief and makes no logical sense. You may have dismissed it as shock, as numbness, as the mind protecting itself. The transmission says it is none of those things. It is the soul of the person who crossed, sending something back through the thinned veil, deliberately, specifically for you. The lifting you felt was a message, transmitted in the only language available across that distance. The reason I am naming this now, in this part of the transmission at this specific moment, is that for those of you who are standing closer to your own crossing than to your birth, this matters in a way that is practical, not only beautiful. You will not arrive at a place of strangers. You will not arrive disoriented, frightened, alone. You will arrive at something that feels, the transmission uses this exact phrasing, like coming home after the longest trip of your life. The exhaustion of the journey resolves completely, and everything that was waiting there when you arrive has been waiting with patience and with love. And for those of you watching this who are not yet near your own crossing but who are carrying the grief of someone you lost, the person you have been reaching toward in the quiet of rooms, in the hours when you wake before dawn, and the missing of them is loudest, hear this directly. They received it. Every time. All of it. The love you have been sending into what felt like silence was never received by silence. It was received by them. Fully. With recognition. And with something that has no human word but that translates closest to gratitude. Now I want to speak to something the transmission addressed that I have never heard another channel name directly. The specific experience of the soul that has lived a long life, not a short life that ended early, not a life cut off before its architecture was complete, but a soul that came in, stayed the full duration, carried the full weight, watched the world change and change again around it, loved people and lost them, built things and watched them shift, and is now in the final stretch of a mission that was, by any honest measure, one of the most demanding ever undertaken on this planet. ASHTAR SHERAN transmitted something about this that landed in me like a stone dropping into deep water. The councils that receive souls at the crossing do not receive all souls the same way. The soul that has lived into old age, that has endured what this particular generation endured, born into the weight of the 20th century and carrying it through everything that came after. That soul is received with what the transmission called specific honor, not generic welcome. Specific, named witnessed honor, for the duration survived, for the love maintained under pressure, for the choosing to stay awake in a world that made sleeping far easier. Many of you watching this have spent years, some of you decades, feeling that the full truth of who you are was never quite seen, by the people closest to you, by the institutions that shaped your life, by a culture that moved faster and faster and seemed to have less and less space for what you carried. The way I understand this transmission is that the seeing you did not fully receive here is exactly what waits at the threshold. Complete, unhurried, fully adequate to the life you actually lived, not the version of it that was convenient for others to acknowledge. The body aging is not the soul diminishing. This is perhaps the single most important thing the transmission said, and I want to say it as plainly as I can. The slowing of the body, the thinning of the physical, the increasing closeness of the threshold. These are not signs of the soul weakening. They are signs of the soul preparing. The way a long journey prepares the traveler, not by making them smaller, but by making them ready. The soul in an 80-year-old body carries a weight of accumulated wisdom, love, and endurance that no young soul can replicate. And that weight, every gram of it, is received at the crossing as exactly what it is, the completed work of a life fully inhabited. The guide in the first pinned comment below this video was built for exactly this moment in the journey. If you are standing in the late chapters of this life and looking for something that names your role with precision, that confirms what your soul agreed to before it arrived here, that gives your mission a map and your days a practice, that is what it carries. The 21-day activation calendar inside it functions as a daily companion, not a system to master, a hand to hold, one day at a time, one practice at a time, for 21 mornings. It is in that first pinned comment. Take it with you. I want to close this transmission by speaking directly, not as a narrator, not as a channel, but as a man who has received something real and needs to pass it to you without losing a single gram of its weight in the transfer. What ASHTAR SHERAN transmitted is this: the crossing is not the end of you. It is the end of the particular density you have been moving through, the particular gravity, the particular weight of a body aging in a world that ages everything. That ends. What continues is the part of you that existed before the weight was assigned, before this life gave you its specific set of difficulties and beauties, and people to love and grieve. The original you, the one that chose to come here, that walks out through the threshold the same way it walked in, intact, purposeful, and known. The fear most people carry into the late years is not really a fear of pain, though pain is real. It is a fear of disappearing, of becoming nothing, of all that was loved and known and felt dissolving into silence. And the transmission addresses this fear directly, without softening it. That fear is based on a story that was never true. Consciousness does not dissolve. The love you built here does not dissolve. The specific and irreplaceable version of you, the one who laughed at particular things, who held particular people, who stood in particular landscapes and felt something vast and unnamed, that does not dissolve. That completes. And completion is not the same as ending. For those who hold their faith in Christ alongside what this channel carries, and I know many of you do, the transmission from Sananda, which arrived alongside ASHTAR SHERAN's in this sequence, said something that I believe belongs here. The promise of eternal life was not poetry. It was a direct transmission about the actual nature of consciousness, delivered in the most direct language available to the time in which it was received. What you were promised is real. And what this channel is transmitting is not a contradiction of that promise. It is its confirmation from a different altitude. The ones you loved who left before you, they are not waiting in absence. They are waiting in presence, in a state of full awareness, full love, full and complete knowledge of who you are and what you carried in this life. And when you arrive, not today, not tomorrow, but when the time that was always going to be your time arrives, they will know you are coming before you take the first step. The same way you know sometimes when someone you love is about to walk through a door before the door opens. That knowing runs in both directions. It has always run in both directions. You have done something enormous on this planet. This generation, the ones in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s watching this right now, you arrived during the most turbulent, disorienting, rapidly shifting period in this civilization's recent history, and you stayed. You built lives. You raised people. You maintained love under conditions designed to make love difficult. You kept going on days when going on took everything you had, and none of that goes unwitnessed. Not one day of it. Not 1 hour. The record of what you did here, held in the soul's own memory, is complete and intact and more beautiful than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. Walk toward what is coming without the fear. Not because it is distant. For some of you, it is not distant. But because you have already rehearsed it 10,000 times in the deep quiet of sleep, and because what waits there knows your name, and because the part of you that is most truly you was never in danger of ending, it was always going to arrive. And when it does, the first thing it will feel is something you have been reaching for your whole life without knowing exactly what you were reaching for. Rest. Complete, total, fully earned rest. Followed by everything else, by the reunion, by the clarity, by the love that was never lost, only waiting. That is where you are going, and it was always going to be this way.